Namaskar, hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I am Namrata Singh and you're watching Perspective. Vice President C.P. Radhakrishnan has said that India has emerged as one of the most proactive nations globally in shaping policies and missions around artificial intelligence for inclusive growth and national transformation. He was addressing the National Conclave on AI Evolution, the Mahakumbh of AI in New Delhi today. The Vice President underlined that AI must become an integral part of the curriculum in schools and colleges, and early exposure to AI will equip students with critical thinking and problem-solving abilities. He also emphasized that AI is central to India's journey towards a self-reliant, inclusive and technologically empowered Viksit Bharat by 2047. Calling upon the youth, he said the future of AI lies in their hands, urging them to embrace change and adopt innovation fearlessly and responsibly. So let's listen in to what the Vice President had to say.
I firmly believe that artificial intelligence should be an integral part of the curriculum in schools and colleges. Early exposure to AI will equip students with critical thinking, problem-solving skills, and future-ready competencies essential for technology-driven world. Artificial intelligence represents a landmark moment in the history of technological evolutions, just like the previous industrial revolutions. We missed the industrial revolution, for that we have been left behind for nearly a century. Now, after this software technology, we become the number one. But still we are lacking behind because we are not the number one in the hardware technology. We have to improve that. Now only that this government under the able leadership of Modi ji is taking every step. The chip manufacturing is possible in India. So this all should have been done 25 years back. Modi ji has sent me to Taiwan. Our first MP delegation, I was a member of that under the Brijlal Verma ji. We all went there. But we couldn't make fast decisions. That's why we have been left out. But Modi ji, at that time, he was the General Secretary of the party. He understands the importance of the strong economies but small countries. That's why he was very particular about sending a young team of MPs that time to Taiwan, and after that only the Taiwan relationship started improving.
So as AI reshapes every major sector from healthcare and climate action to education, let's explore how it can make quality education more accessible and drive large-scale transformation in India's education system with our experts. So to discuss this and much more, we are joined by an eminent panel of experts. I'm pleased to welcome two distinguished guests joining us virtually. I'm delighted to welcome Dr. Mahesh Verma, Vice Chancellor of Guru Gobind Singh Indraprastha University. It's a pleasure to have you with us on the show today. I'm also pleased to welcome Professor Shrikant Bedathur. He's Professor for AI Department, CSE IIT Delhi. Professor, welcome to Sansad TV and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting.
Dr. Verma, let me begin the discussion with you. First of all, congratulations on this initiative. And so as we all know that AI in India, higher education is rapidly growing, and the government's vision for Viksit Bharat 2047 to create an inclusive, high-quality education system focused on skill development and life abilities. So this initiative, aims to develop an AI-enabled education delivery model. So could you take us through this initiative, what it entails, and how will it shape India's higher education ecosystem?
Yeah. Yes. I would like to share with you that today we had, we had endeavored this AI Mahakumbh where, we had students from schools, we had students from colleges, we had faculty. It was like a kind of a symbolic Mahakumbh where everybody together, basically, because, that we have seen that in the last couple of years, the AI is slowly seeping into all areas, all endeavors of human life. So I think it is inevitable today, and not just mandatory, it is inevitable that it has to be part of the educational ecosystem, right from right from the school days, till higher education, and we have to make a beginning. And many of us, also do not truly understand what is AI. AI is not just a software use of a software. AI is where things which a human being can do can be done by a machine or some other gadget. So today, we really need AI in education system because it can change the entire how do we teach and learn, the teaching learning system. Normally what happened traditionally, that most of our teachers, they are busy, they are engaged in a traditional teaching learning. Now if we can do all those mundane and routine things done by AI, there's so much of a time left over for a teacher to do so many things other than, he could become a mentor. He could he could he could he could deliver a higher order education, ethics, values, something beyond which where he doesn't get a time. Also, learning becomes so much easier for any student. It can be at his own level, at own pace, what he wants to learn. It can be very personalized, and he need not memorize it. It is more of an experiential learning. So that is the teaching learning. Then the faculty, faculty empowerment, faculty, how they can be developed from routine teachers to mentors, where a lot of these lessons and all the routine things can be done, is already available on your device, and he can help you what to do. It's more of a personal and more intense education. Another thing is that, you see, another area in higher education is research and innovation.
Right.
See, olden time when we were students, we used to spend so much time in reviewing literature. Now today it can be done at a press of a button. So research, innovation, the discovery can be much faster. Other than that, the governance, all the processes in a university or in a school, admission, assessments, all those things can be done much faster. And ultimately, the skills, how you can prepare a student for adequate skills, so that his skills match what is needed by industry, his employability. So it's a very something which is very incremental. It totally, and this is what is our NEP asking.
Right.
Our NEP is also asking all these things. So all those missions, all those objectives of NEP can be easily met through this AI way of AI integration into education. And also we want to increase the gross enrollment ratio. We are looking for that. We want more students to come into higher education because there are, I think, about 28% or so currently, and our objective is that we should make it at least 50%, and that can be speeded up. That process can be speeded up if we integrate AI, because things become, the ease of learning, teaching, learning, research.
Absolutely.
Governance. Thank you.
Basically, it's like moving from contemporary teaching to modern teaching. Professor, what Dr. Verma shared just now clearly shows that where we are going, how AI is transforming the education sector more than what we can imagine. Like in transforming learning, teaching, evaluating, governance, and decision making. And Vice President also emphasized that the early integration of artificial intelligence in school and colleges, noting that early exposure equips students with critical thinking and problem solving skills. So according to you, how can policymakers and educators ensure students acquire these future ready skills And in your view, how is education in India transforming at scale through AI?
So I think Professor Verma put it quite nicely, right? I mean, there are lots of aspects in the education sector that
Right.
get affected by AI. But at the same time, I think it won't happen by itself, right? Just by saying, let's adopt AI and everything happens seamlessly. That is too far-fetched a dream. But I think we are on the right path in the sense that when can AI really succeed? AI can succeed when you have lots of data, when you have talent, when you have talent to transform the data into some kind of actionable, agents, and more importantly, a intent from the organization and the government to actually use that effectively. And I think we are seeing a very nice coming togetherness of all these aspects, right, in various sectors in India. In education, particularly, we are already seeing a huge transformation in the way students use AI. AI, particularly, let's say LLMs, right?
Right.
You can see that in IIT, for example, nearly 80% of the students have already said they do use AI quite regularly, right, for various things. But what is to be taught to them is how to use it responsibly, because AI can make mistakes.
Right.
How to be able to identify where the AI is bringing value, where it is adding some kind of hallucinations or errors, and how do we weed out this kind of mistakes and critically evaluate whatever has come out of AI. So that is a training that we need to actually put together for the students. And the same thing for the teachers as well. I think Professor Verma correctly pointed out, teachers can leverage AI for, let's say, planning their lessons or improving their assessments and whatnot. But they also have to keep in mind that all this comes at a cost, right? At the cost of whether, if you just do it in a blind fashion, then you lose touch with the students. And in fact, you have to make use of the fact that AI is giving you extra time and use that for maybe engaging with students at a more personal level, and use this time to effectively, not just at the school level mentoring, but at a wide spectrum, right? Starting from schools to colleges, stud- we can kind of rediscover what we had lost, right? Which is the close guru shishya style of interaction with the students.
Right.
So AI can help you to rediscover some portions of that lost art that we have.
So basically, using AI responsibly is what Professor is saying. Dr. Verma, this collaboration marks the start of a large-scale AI-enabled learning movement in India's higher education, reimagining how knowledge is delivered and experienced. So considering India's vast and diverse regions with disparities in infrastructure, teacher availability and learning outcomes, how can AI help bridge gaps in access, quality and affordability across the country, according to you?
No, I think whatever I said in the beginning, that when the way teaching learning is becomes different, like anybody who is in a far-flung area, if he is using AI mode of learning, and this is available multilingual in a different languages. It's also available around the clock. It is available, in far-flung areas. So I think, don't you think that it is certainly going to enhance the access of education, and not only that. See, a lot of our working professionals and other household women and so many other people who aspire to acquire education but for physical constraints or for many traditional constraints, they are not able to do it. So they are also going to be onboarded, for with the help of AI, and also, I think it's going to be a win-win for everybody. Win-win for the learner, win for the teacher, for professor, because he's going to be upgraded more like a mentor or someone who'll hold hand rather than just a traditional teacher. And also, it's going to empower him, doing more research, more discovery, more innovation, helping the students, building ideas, how to set up, helping students become entrepreneurs, employability. You see all those things. So, and then overall, I think the entire ease of processes in running an institution, and and also assessment. See, it's a big issue. You see, in most of our universities or education system, our assessments are summative, not formative.
Right.
That means, at the end of the time there'll be exams, and at that time, if you do well, you do well. So it'll be a continuous assessment, and analytics and data generation. I mean, it can do hordes of things. It can do so many things which will entirely change the system. So it is going to benefit. So that's why you said affordability,
Right.
because probably it's available to us, accessibility, because it will open gateways for all those who are not able to access traditional education otherwise. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, this is the time, and this is an opportunity for India to reflect on its progress as a global leader in leveraging technology for inclusive and equitable education. And Professor, during the COVID pandemic also, we saw that technology opened up a whole new world for learning. AI now offers teachers real-time insights into students' performance, reduce administrative burdens, allowing them to focus on teaching and learning. So, in this context, how do you see AI transforming education while keeping human agency at its core? And how can, artificial intelligence help democratize quality education across India?
So I think AI definitely helps you in many aspects. The foundational aspects of education, what skills you need to learn, that doesn't change,
Right.
The agency that you talked about, and the skills that are needed essentially to formulate problems, to be able to assess different alternate solutions that you have, all these, and take into account the human conditions, human context. These are the things which we have, we cannot forget that, right? And this has to be taught to the students regularly. And the important point, especially in Indian context, is that India is a massively diverse country, right? It's not just about languages, it's about aspirations, it's kind of background that the students come with, the learning styles they are comfortable with. And also people have different limitations, right? For example, some may prefer to learn by watching pictures, some may prefer watching listening to audio. So these kind of variations are very hard to handle at the human level. Individual teacher may not be able to support all of them. And we don't have enough qualified teachers across the country. And I think AI can help us in circumventing many of these issues and be able to provide solutions which can be used by teachers from various kind of backgrounds. Having said that, I think teachers have to be trained they have to be trained on how it has to be used effectively, not to suspect AI, because this is a general tendency that I see when I talk to many of my colleagues. They suspect AI is something which is making students less creative. The moment you ask a question, students run to a chat GPT and fire a question and get the answers and just repeat it. Sure, if you don't give questions which will force them to evaluate many different alternate solutions,
Right.
this is what you will end up. You will end up with a bunch of robots which will use LLM as a blind tool.
Definitely.
In fact, this needs to be training of the students as well as teachers. Both need to be done simultaneously in order to see a huge impact of AI, positive impact of AI. Otherwise, I think we will see much more negative impact of AI. But there is a good understanding that what kind of training is needed for teachers, what kind of training is needed for students, how to enable this across the country. And I think we need to now pull our sleeves up and get to the act, right? Start doing this kind of slowly roll out at various levels and see what kind of transformation we can do with AI.
Absolutely. So it's like, training needs to be given to the students, to the teachers, reskilling should be done, upskilling should be done. So Dr. Verma, with AI reshaping learning at scale, what are the best practices according to you for teacher training to adapt to this transformation or to train students?
See, because we are as we are getting more acquainted with AI and slowly getting into our systems, I think few things we must keep in mind. One is that AI should be learner-centric AI.
Okay.
It should be used for a personalized learning, and it should be supporting diverse learners. As Professor Srikant was telling that there are the learner has a different ways of learning. So that is one best practice, that it has to be it has to be learner centric. Another thing is that human approach should always be overriding. That means not everything everything to be decided by AI. So the teachers, mentors, and administrators, they will always reign supreme. They are the ones who will call the shot. So that's another best practice, is that we cannot just succumb, or we can just be a slave to AI. Another thing is that Srikant also mentioned that it has to be used very ethically, transparent manner, explainable.
Responsibly.
Responsibility, biases, no biases, because it will only give you what is available data. It
Right.
cannot interpret, isn't it? And then privacy laws. There are a lot of areas where there are privacy laws. There are, how do we use the data transparently? And when you want to take somebody's data, there has to be consent, whether it is agreeable, whether it is necessary, or are we in the guise of AI, we are getting some gathering some, and so use all the secure ways. I mean, I'm sure the techies understand better ways at how to secure the data so that it cannot be extrapolated wrongly, of course, for the right with. And then inclusivity, accessibility. When you see it, then we cannot have a bias that it's only for the elitist.
Right.
It'll be for everybody. And we also, the best practice is that we have to start integrating it into the curriculum right from the school level. And again, ultimately, our national education policy, I think it has to align with the education. So these could be some of the best practices, which where AI could be slowly
Right.
become a very routine part of education system. Yes.
So basically, we all agree that, using AI ethically, responsibly, smartly. And so, Professor, if you were to define a model of innovation in education today, balancing civilizational wisdom with global competitiveness, how do you see our students and future generations being prepared for it?
Oh, this is a much harder, much broader question than just the AI expertise that I
Right.
have, right? I think the current AI systems, particularly keeping the discussion within the AI framework that we are looking at,
Right.
current AI systems are trained on data that is globally accessible, globally available, right? So, which means that many of the contextual, our own local knowledge systems are not yet integrated into the current AI systems. So, which means that it is both a limitation of the existing AI systems, but at the same time, it's a great opportunity for India. In the sense, now we can actually start thinking about how do we build AI systems locally, which are capable of catering to our needs, right? Bringing in the local knowledge, bringing in diverse knowledge that is sitting in various forms in India, and how do we collect them together to make a workable AI system that is useful for us. And I think that is the mission that we need to focus on, while everything else that we talked about, like responsibility or making sure that it is used in a more meaningful manner and everything, all this is globally valid. No questions about it. I mean, everybody agrees. But what is
Okay.
specific to India? India has our local knowledge systems, our traditional knowledge, right? Which I think has its own value, which needs to be integrated into AI systems. And I think there is a huge opportunity there. And I'm glad that you brought up that question, although I'm just giving a very small-minded answer, right? It's just a small-minded in the sense of just AI specific answer, but I think there's a much larger debate to be had in that.
Absolutely. Dr. Verma, your closing comments?
No, I feel that the final comment, I would say that it has to be transformational, and it has to pave way for an information delivery system which is include three I's. That is intelligent, inclusive, and impact driven. You see, ultimately, that it has to be inclusive, it has to be intelligent, of course, because it has to do things faster, thing which can be which is beyond sometimes a human physical possibility. That means if you want to do a data analysis physically, it may take days together, which can be done with the press of a button. So it has to be intelligent, it has to be inclusive, and it has to be driven.
Okay. Okay.
That it has to ultimately, give rise to some impact. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely, sir. So, as our guests have highlighted, that AI is not only transforming sectors like healthcare, climate change, and national security, but also creating new opportunities in learning, accessibility, and skill development. A big thank you to all our experts, Dr. Verma and Professor, for their valuable insights on this topic. And to our viewers, thank you for your time. Stay tuned and keep watching Sansad TV.
To watch more programs of Sansad TV, subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to like and share them.